Hello everybody, how you doing? This is Mr. Douse. On this video I'm just going to solve just some other kinds of problems for point slope form problems that you might come across. This one says write two equations in point slope form of the line that passes through the points -3, 1 and 6, 5. So I need to come up with two equations in point slope form that passes through, or of a line that passes through the -3, 1 and the 6, 5. Basically I'm going to write down this equation two different times. I'm going to plug these numbers in for the x's and the y's, but I don't know what the slope is right now. And so right now we can come up with the equations except for we won't have the slope. I'm just going to do the equations separately. I'm going to find the slope first, and then I'll just throw this in together. Once I find the slope, once I know what the slope is, this is gonna happen very quickly. And so let's see here. What can I do with these 2 points? Well, if I have a graph, I could plot these on a graph and do rise over run, but I don't have a graph anywhere on here. And so there's an alternative way we can find slope, and that is y2, or m equals y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. And so what I like to do here is I like to label these coordinates before I start throwing numbers into this equation. So I have x1 and y1. I'm going to label this an x2 and y2. And if you have no clue what I'm doing here, you've never seen this equation and you're not very comfortable with it, you're welcome to go to my website and look under slope, and you'll see one that's over the slope formula. But I'm going to assume you know how to do it, and so I'm just going to start solving it. y2 is 5. We have a negative sign in the equation, so we've got to put that subtract sign here. And then y1 is 1 divided by x2 is 6. There's a subtract sign in here, or a negative sign, depending on how you look at it. And then x1 is a -3. And so since there's a negative here and a negative here, those two negatives become positive, and I get 5 minus 1 is 4, 6 plus 3 is 9, and I can't reduce this down at all, and so my slope on this problem is 4 over 9. And so I now know that the slope here is 4 over 9. And so let me erase this again, because I need to come up with two different equations in point slope form that pass through these points. And so for right now, I'm going to ignore this guy. I'm going to focus on this one here. And for the sake of this equation, I'm going to label this guy x1 and y1. And so let me change colors here. Let's go to blue. I have y minus y1 in this case is 1 equals the slope. Well, we know the slope is 4 over 9 now. And then we have a parenthesis, we have an x, we have a negative sign, and then I need the x1. x1 is a -3. And keep in mind, two negatives become a positive. Oops, that's a little messy there. Sorry, that was a -3. The two negatives become a positive here. And so if I were to write this again, y minus 1 equals 4 over 9, x plus 3. That is one of the two equations. So don't stop here. I need to come up with two equations, not one, two. And so now that I've used this point, I'm going to ignore it. And I'm going to go over here, and I'm going to label this guy here x1 and y1. And I'm basically going to redo what I did here, but I'm going to end up changing the x1 and the y1 in here. So I'm going to go with y minus y1 in this case is 5 equals, well, the slope is the same slope, so that m here is slope is still 4 over 9. And then we have the x and the minus sign. And then the x1 is 6. And I have now come up with two different equations in point slope form with these two different points that I originally started off with. So again, once you know the slope, you're going to use one of these coordinates for one equation and the other set of coordinates for the other equation. Now, what if you actually did have a graph? Oops. What if you actually did have a graph? Was there a different way you could have done this? I kind of told you what you could have done earlier. You could have plotted these points here, a -3, 1, and you could have plotted a 6, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And I could have done rise over run here to find the slope. Up 1, 2, 3, 4, and then, so that's 4. The slope here would have been 4. And then from here, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 4 over 9. And I could have found the slope much quicker. And then I could have done what I just did here all over again. And then if we notice here, again, if I were to connect these dots, we would end up having a line going in this direction. And so this is a line that's crossing both of these coordinates. And so both of these equations are would be your answer. So hopefully I'm not mumbling too much here. Let's do one more here. We have two different points here. It says write two equations in point slope form of the line that pass through the points -4, 9, and an 8, -6. I'm going to solve this a little differently here. I'm going to come up with equation 1 right here. I'm going to put equation 2 right here. And so equation 1 and equation 2. I'm going to start with this guy right here. So I'm going to ignore the slope right now. This is just a different way of doing it. Imagine we don't know the slope. I'm going to keep this guy out of it, but I do know the x1 and y1 because I have the coordinates here. So I'm going to label this guy x1 and y1. I'm going to ignore this guy for now. And so if I start solving this, y minus y1, that's a 9, equals, well, we don't know the slope right now, so let's put an m here for slope. And then we have the parentheses x minus, x1 is a -4, and those two negatives become a positive. And so I'm going to come back and I'll fill in the slope here in a moment. But let's do the other equation. So let's say I ignore this guy now, and I focus on this equation here, label this guy x1 and y1 here. So when I start solving this again, we have y minus y1 is a -6. Well, those two negatives become a positive, equal, again, I don't know the slope, so I'm going to put an m here. We have an x, parentheses x and minus, and then x1 is an 8. And so just like that, I've got two equations, but I don't know the slope. And so again, let's not do that. Let's just go straight to the graph, because I'm assuming you know how to find the slope using the other equation. This is just going to make this video a little bit quicker. So let me plot both these points here. If you have a graph on another problem, let's say this question doesn't have a graph, there's a good chance you're going to have a graph on another problem. So just go to that graph and plot the points. If I go to a -4 up 9, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. And if I go to this 8, -6, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Holy cow, that's a huge rise over run here. So the rise is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. So if I'm doing slope, the rise is down 15. And then from here, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. A -15 over 12. I can reduce this. These are both divisible by 3. So that becomes a -5 over 4. And this is my slope. And so right now, I could substitute both of these m's. And I can put in a -5 over 4 here. And a -5 over 4 here. And I have both of my equations. Now, it's probably a good idea to double check that slope. So I'm going to go down 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, 2, 3, 4. Down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 over 1, 2, 3, 4. And I get right back on that other dot. And so if I were to connect these two points would make this line here. And these are two different equations in point slope form of the line that passes through these 2 points. Anyways, hopefully this helps you understand this kind of problem. You might have this on a test, and I hope you have a good day. Bye-bye.